Speaking of people doing things to women, Bill Cosby. He will be walking out of a Pennsylvania state prison free as a bird because a Pennsylvania state Supreme Court issued an opinion to vacate his conviction. The former TV dad, he and his lawyers appealed in December. They argued that Cosby's entire life was put on trial, and that caused him to suffer unquantifiable prejudice. I'm going to get to the legal stuff first.
Oh, wow.
The Supreme Court agreed to review two aspects of the case that Cosby's lawyers challenged. The first involved the judge's decision to let prosecutors call 5 other accusers. The second was that Cosby had a previous agreement with the former prosecutor that he would never be charged had he delivered the testimony that he gave. 83 years old, he has been in the SCI Phoenix prison, state prison right outside of Philly, where he was sentenced after he was convicted in 2018 of 3 aggravated indecent assault counts, and the court deemed him to be a sexually violent predator posing an imminent safety risk to women. So he was denied parole last year because he had a negative recommendation. He apparently was not a model prisoner, and he was not repentant. So they were like, you got to stay in jail, but now he walks free. Thoughts and prayers. Who wants to start? All right, go ahead, Tanya.
Tanya, I can feel it. You can feel Tanya came ready for this.
There's so many parts. There's so many parts. There's the technicality aspect of the law, and the fact that under our law, innocence isn't a reason to get out of jail even. So when you look at the illogic of the law and who technicalities favor, that's its whole thing. But I think the thing that's got me a little
Wait, and before you continue, Tanya went to law school. I just need y'all to understand she's not talking out of the left side of her butt cheek. Again, as I said, I might be the least accomplished person on this panel today, because I think it's important to have voices who have some life experience and perspective. Dr. Robin will be joining us later. Dr. Stacey Patton will be here today. And the number here is 866-801-8255, because I believe this is triggering. Cosby is a lightning rod and an inflection point for Black people in particular. Yes. I think a lot of Black people have very strong feelings on both sides. We saw Felicia Rashad post something today about, how unjust it was that he was even in jail. We know that there are a lot of people in our community who feel like Cosby was railroaded because he tried to buy NBC so many years ago and tried to, do that. And there are a lot of women who are survivors of sexual abuse, sexual assault, and rape, who feel that there's not enough time. There's not a jail deep enough to put Cosby in, and for him to be representative of all of the men and women who have sexually assaulted innocent people. Okay, Tanya, I just had to frame that.
Yeah, I mean, the Felicia Rashad piece is triggering for me, because she is now, I mean, as an actress, it's okay to have an opinion, but when you now are going to be the head of a university, and that particular predator really preyed on young girls and young students, and my personal friend was raped when she was in college. So, that was just like, whoo. Ooh, like, couldn't you just hold it? Couldn't you hold your horses? You had to go and say bravo to all of those people who have just been assaulted today, again, by this court's decision. Then they get another assault by another woman. So that's hard.
Michaela?
So, what's challenging for me is what seems to be our inability to hold competing truths. Right? Like, can it be true that Cosby was a genius and a waymaker and a serial sexual predator? Can we hold those truths?
Well, we hold them for Roman Polanski
and Woody Allen.
Woody Allen.
Exactly.
Right.
So I think, I mean,
and we held it for 20 plus years for R. Kelly. We really did.
But do we hold the truth and then hold them accountable for those truths? And that I know it's easier to be either he's innocent or he's a monster, rather than he did this great thing and he still is a criminally sexually like, and you know what was I think also interesting in that charge, to present it as if he is a current active threat. That would be so easy to debunk. You know, if I'm 83 years old and can't see, like this is about what you did and what you did to the community. And I think not being able to have complex conversations about Bill Cosby makes it so we can't have complex conversations about Uncle Leroy. You know what I mean? And that's what
are we?
That's
are
what's
we
at
though?
stake.
Well, we are not having.
Age doesn't stop you from being a predator. You can be 85.
Not at all.
Still put the drugs in there and still do all this stuff.
No doubt. But I think that's one of the things that made the holes available to kind of slip in, and why he went with a Walker and all that stuff, so they can present like he's not this. I mean, I know people that were victims of Cosby in my like actual life. And so I trust those women in my life, even if I didn't know them. Do you know what I mean? So this is this has deeper implications than just another, celebrity man getting off. It has deeper implications for the community.
866-801-8255. So first, the law. Bill Cosby told the truth under the understanding that he would not be prosecuted to a prosecutor, right? That was the deal that was made, right? So again, there is a legal aspect to this. So the new prosecutor comes in, wants to make his bones, and is like, well, you didn't make that deal with me. And you told under oath on the record that you did this. So it was an easy conviction.
Yes.
But, there are Black people in jail right now. I just talked about a 79-year-old Black woman who's in jail right now because she got out during COVID and now she's in computer school. She didn't answer the phone for a parole officer and they put her back in jail because she might have been robbing a bank.
Oh, wow.
Crystal Mason is in jail because she voted after she got out in Texas,
right,
because her mother said people die so you could vote. And so she went to vote. Erroneously, the vote didn't count and she's still in jail, sentenced to 5 more years. And I think about the number because Clay Kane does Exonerated on these airwaves on 126. He does an amazing job giving light and story, giving the space for people to tell their stories, people who have been wrongfully convicted. There are people in jail who didn't do the crime. And we have a criminal justice system that is unequal in its doling out of justice. And then this rich man, because I think there's a space for us to talk about Cosby's wealth, is now going to walk free after he's murdered these women. And I consider rape to be murder.
And I got to say this, prosecutors and police are legally allowed to lie to people in the pursuit of getting them to admit to things. They're legally allowed to do that. Prosecutors file charges before they ever see evidence. So how suddenly is this prosecutor, oh, now my word has to count? They lie to people on the regular.
Well, what does it say about a community? Because there are going to be a lot of men calling up today defending Cosby. I know that for a fact because they were defending him. I've been on these airwaves almost 7 years. When Cosby was convicted, they were calling up to defend him. They called up to defend R. Kelly. I'm seeing Twitter right now. What does it say about a community where we cannot give credence to women who say this happened to me? And there is room to have two spaces. Yes, Cosby was the greatest television magnate to probably ever live. His Different World, his Cosby Show, the show after that, Fat Albert, all iconic. All of it. They should still be on television. Two things can be true and can hold space. That's right. That said, he's a sexual predator who should probably still be in jail. And I'm saying probably because legally, the Supreme Court said that he is now innocent because they vacated, right? So he's going to go out with a clean record. And we argue this, at least I do on these airwaves, that once you've paid your time, you should get your voting rights. I don't think you should ever lose your voting rights, in my opinion, because you did a crime doesn't mean you're not a citizen and not deserving of representation. But I do believe that at some point there should be a level of forgiveness, which we'll talk with Dr. Robin later on. And we should talk now too. Like, where's the line to a man who's never been, he's never really admitted that he did anything except under oath.
Except for under oath. but I think, I mean, the patriarchy of it all too, like the fact that you can get, are women protected? Are women of color protected? Like, that you can tell the truth, but but make a deal like that. All of that is what we're grappling with, and I think that it's, you know, when we drag our history into the trauma, the very real trauma and terror of our history into a current situation, that's when we get all, you know, they're thinking about Black men being lynched. At the same time, we're just talking about, can we have justice for these women? So I think a lot of, particularly Black men in protection of Cosby, there's some existential kind of terror that they're trying to protect, versus can we look at what this thing is and not have it be looked through the lens of our trauma.
866-801-8255. And I'm pausing because we got a lot of triggering conversations to have. I invited Dr. Stacey Patton on because we're going to be talking about spanking and what that trauma has generationally done to Black people. We're going to be talking with Dr. Robin about, you know, rape and sexual assault and women not being able, there women listening right now. I actually got a couple of DMs before I came on that this case was triggering because it reminded them of the things that happened to them when they couldn't tell anyone, right? And this woman, you know, she stood trial against one of the most powerful men in Hollywood and got justice in the moment, and now he walks free with a clear record. What does that do to all of the women out there and men who have been sexually assaulted, raped, abused, put in situations that made them not just uncomfortable, but dehumanized them? Where do we get refuge? And
when you think that rape wasn't even a crime before 1962, and marital rape wasn't a crime till 1975, and war rape not until 1998. I mean, women still don't have equal rights. We still aren't equal under the Constitution. So, you know, these laws still say that as a female, we are second class in this country.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Should we? I don't want to take any calls, but I think we should, because it to me is instructive, right, about where we are as people. And this audience is special because these are folk who are engaged in the public discourse. They're engaged in their communities. These are folk who, you know, they're truck drivers and doctors and teachers and folks that are living their lives every day doing amazing things, who pay for radio. So, you know, this to me, and this is why I feel so confident sitting here having conversations, because I can pretty much gauge America through this audience, which is diverse, 30% white, you know, 54% men versus women. You know, it's a very good microcosm of society. And I get to hear some things that make me uncomfortable sometimes, but I have to listen. I knew Trump was going to win because of this audience in 2016. 866-801-8255. So I'm going to dive in. Let's take the temperature. And again, also, though, there's a certain kind of person that will call up a show. Most of us have never dialed a radio show in our entire lives. And if we have, we haven't gotten on. 90% of us, 99% of us probably have never called a radio show. So there's a certain kind of person that'll call up a show all the time, too. So I'm going to be mindful of that and go into Missouri and welcome in Larry.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. I'm commenting on the Bill Cosby situation. I got some mixed feelings about that. Number one, back in the 60s, I'm probably about 10 years Bill Cosby Jr., but when he came out as a Black man on a TV show, I think it was called I Spy, and just so happens I look a lot like Bill Cosby, and got numerous times where I was mistaken for him by women and by young men, the teenagers. What I'm saying is that being a star like he was, I can't see women just leaving him alone. In other words, I believe some of the fault lies on the women also. And another thing we have to look at is where we live, the justice system that we in. I guarantee you, for every Bill Cosby, a Black man, I guarantee you there's 1,000 white men out there in Hollywood that has done much worse and never came up.
So
Bill
Larry,
Cosby-
Larry, can you define rape for me?
Excuse me?
Can you define rape? Define rape.
Well,
What is rape?
Of course, ma'am.
No,
I'm
just
not, I'm
just
not,
no, please, just define it. I want to
no,
know what you
no,
think. What is rape?
rape is when a man, whether it be a man or a woman, has sexual intercourse without the other person's permission,
Okay.
either by force or persuasion or whatever.
Okay. So
And
you do understand what rape is. And so what Cosby admitted to was drugging Comstad, Andrea Comstad. He drugged her. So she was not even awake to consent. This is the crime that he went to jail for. This is not about women throwing. Yeah, it's like, should she have been there in the house with Cosby? Was she wearing something provocative? Did she show her left boob? Was her ass out? All of those things we can have a conversation about. But here's what he admitted to: drugging her. She was unconscious, and he had sex with her while she was not awake. Is that rape, Larry?
Yeah, my question to you.
No. Yes or no. Yes or no. Because again, we could sit and equivocate about, the women and there's their fault, but she was not awake when he had sex with her. Is that rape?
With you, I agree with you, but
no,
remember,
it says, yeah, I need to hear yes or no out your mouth. Is it rape?
I did say yes.
Okay.
But if you stop a moment and listen to me,
no, I actually don't have to. So I don't want to. And so I'm not going to. So goodbye. Because after the yes came a but, which tells me that you're not capable of having a conversation at this level that we need to have it. And the level we need to have it, Larry, and let me be 100% clear, this show and everything that I'm doing in my life right now is about getting us to the next place. We're not going there having these circular ass conversations about the things we've been having conversations about that have kept us in this situation of bondage that we're in right now. So you can have that conversation with yourself and the people in your circle at the barbershop where it can make you feel good. But this is not going to get us to the promised land. And because of that, I'm out. All right. Who wants to jump in? Anybody? Before I go to the next caller, because it's a line full of men, by the way, just letting you know. Antoine, Jeff, Donnie, Lee, they all, Darian, they all there.
Here's the conversation that we need to hold quick, that men could have consensual sex with people and they could be raping some other people. Can we hold that men may have consensual sex with some group of people and be raping, maybe even murdering some other people? Because Ted Bundy was married and had children. Okay, so they're not mutually exclusive.
Okay, this is, it's disheartening that we even have to defend this. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. Look, there are some people that I absolutely love. And look, I would fight you over Michael Jackson. I would fight you. I promise you. I grew up idolizing Michael Jackson. And I had to go through, were these people, he ain't do that. And then I'm like, okay. So it came out that they were lying. I was like, whoo. Because I at one point I even stopped playing his music on these airwaves because I have to be, to me, accountable to myself and the things that I believe in. But at some point, and I love R. Kelly music. Let me just be really clear with you. That man has a catalog that is unmatched in this generation. Unmatched. His writing, all of that. All of the closet stuff, all of the everything, the Mr. Big stuff. I had a fight with my mother, argument with my mother this week about R. Kelly music. And I said, what do you stand for, ma'am? Don't tell me you playing R. Kelly. Well, it's in my playlist. And I said, I had to go to a painstaking measure to remove his music because there's a lot of it out of my playlist because I want to stand in the truth of what this is. Now, I'm not challenging anybody to do the same, but like, if we can't just have an honest conversation that man is a sexual predator, this man is a sexual predator, and we should not be complicit in their sexual and giving them passes. Yes, Michaela.
But Karen, you know what actually hurts is that there's not even an opening of compassion for women. Like, whoever was on that list, Dwayne, Darnell, Jerome, Laquan, like to at least say, I feel for the women who are triggered today. I understand. I know they got sisters, mamas, maybe themselves who are sexual survivors. And even if your conflated politics have you believe that somehow Cosby is, different than all the, white men and whatever. And that could be true. But just not even the pause for all the women who are survivors. And because especially if you're Black, the numbers bear out that someone that is a sexual survivor if you are not one yourself. And that you don't just even, they'll give thoughts and prayers around every tragedy. This is a tragedy and a trauma and a crime and a terror on us, on women. So I want all the brothers out there to hear that. We are traumatized. And if you love us, if you down for the people, if you in for Black liberation, if Black women aren't liberated, the community ain't making it. Let's just be clear. So if the leaders of the people who raise your children, take care of your mama, are traumatized, take a beat and acknowledge that. And then tell your weird ass politics. Because I don't want to listen when I hear that you don't even see us. That, I'm working hard I am listening, but it's hard. I have to make a leap.
And the hardest thing is, but there's so many white men that are out there that did it and they didn't. So we should be okay. I feel like the standards should be higher because we are oppressed people. And you know what I'm saying? We should have zero tolerance.
How are white people going to save us? Thinking about them and comparing. They've always been having privilege and power and position. What does that do for us? That is, like you said, it's a circular ass old conversation. White where? We have to center Black people. We have to center Black women. We have to center the community. And we keep looking over white people, and that's the training. We've been trained over the white people. No,
Yeah.
White where?
Well, I feel proud when people can get away with something that a white person get away with.
Like
we
OJ.
get excited, woo.
That's
somebody that was got away with it, and we did too.
That's a word. We're trying to get revenge. We're trying to get justice, not revenge.
Well,
Toni Morrison.
Stacey Abrams said she got people to vote for revenge. She said revenge should not be a bad word.
Okay, all right. Okay. Point taken.
You voting just to make sure that person don't have a job next week. That's a good enough reason too.
You know what?
Facts.
Facts.
Oh, Toni Morrison said, I always knew I was morally superior. I think it's time for us to start acting like that. 866-801-8255. All right, I'm jumping back in. Let me go to Larry. No, I already did Larry. Let's do Donnie in Nebraska. Hi, Donnie.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you today?
Good.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes. Can you hear me? Okay. When I went back to Africa, the African continent, they said I reconnected with Mother Africa, which I think is a good thing for young African Americans.
All right. First of all, what you're going to do is slow down, right? And talk like you got some good damn sense. Just have a conversation. What is it you want to say about this Cosby case?
We as brothers, we respect sisters to the utmost, and we've seen a lot of framing with brothers from going back to Angela Davis all the way up to the present. And we say to ourselves, OJ was found innocent, but they hounded him back into prison. When is the brothers going to say, look, I can look at a case here in Omaha, Nebraska, 1969. A little sister got killed. We went to rioting. We fought for our sisters. We always fight for our sisters. But we need to say, hey, something's wrong with this case. We can see there's something wrong with it because we was taught women are 10 times
what's wrong with
men.
the Cosby case? Let's talk specifically about this. What was wrong with that case?
The case I looked at it is that when we was growing up, a woman is 10 times smarter. When she gets to Bill Cosby's house, she already know what she's gonna do when she get there.
Oh, again, that's the same argument. Okay, all right. When I hear you say we, I hear there's a scripture where there's legion inside of a person, and Jesus is there to cast out the demons, and we are, and they speak in that same we are legion. And when I hear you talking, that's what I'm hearing right now. The legion that are in you. 866-801-8255, because it's right back to the women, and it's her fault that she came to the house to be with a mentor that she respected, who invited her in, and Camille was home, and you think you're going to get drugged and wake up with semen in your vagina? Or do you think that you're going to wake up and go, why am I in pain in this region? and then you're confused, and he admitted that he did it. So everybody out there was talking about he was railroaded. He said he did it. Now he made a deal that Tanya just told us the prosecutor didn't have to follow, and they did not. The new prosecutor did not, and used his testimony against him, which is why he was convicted. I'm sorry, Michaela.
No, you handled it, because the question was if they know what they were doing when they were going over it. Does he really contend that they thought that they knew that they were going to go there and get drugged and raped? Like, really, like, even if they thought maybe it's a possibility, I'm going to, with us, once you're drugged, all your choices are gone.
But I think there's also the fact that he's a good person, so you can trust him. Oh, but I heard he's a rapist. So then you got to decide, well, who am I going to believe? The people who says he's a good person, or the people who says he's a rapist? And most of the time, you want to believe the better thing about a person.
Of course.
So you're going with the hopes. And then people say, well, you heard the other things too, so it's your fault.
And some of those women were sent by their agents. There were young models that were sent by agents. So
I guess Harvey Weinstein should be out too. I'm gonna take a couple more calls. I'm just curious. Antoine in Maryland. From
the area.
How you doing?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay, good. I just wanted to say that, first of all, I think it's kind of really unfair for you to say if we disagree with this decision, then somehow we don't respect the trauma that other women have been through, because that's not the case at all.
Well, I think what Michaela said was there's no compassion. Like, there's no, hey, he admitted to doing this. That's atrocious. It should never happen. And I'm sorry for all the women. However, I think in this case, exactly. That's not the setup. That has not been a setup today, including with you. But continue.
But didn't she say, and correct me if I'm wrong, that he offered pills, and she said, what are they? And he said they're happy pills or something.
She said she had a headache, or, and again, what's your point? Like, did he drug her?
That she knew she was being drugged. If I offered you pills,
you think
I didn't tell you what they were, you wouldn't take them.
If it's Bill Cosby though, so I'm gonna give you a story. This is before the pandemic. I'm in the studio. Lawrence Fishburne is in. He's got a cup of something, and he says, "Here, taste this." And it's Lawrence Fishburne. And my dumbass did taste it. It was delicious, by the way. It was some kind of tea, some chai tea mixture that he had. But it was Lawrence Fishburne, and I felt like Lawrence Fishburne ain't gonna do nothing to me. We about to do an interview. I don't drink behind people, so that's completely. But it was Lawrence Fishburne. So I'm like, it's Lawrence Fishburne, though. And he was looking real good. And I was like, all right, let me taste it. He was offering me something, just met me. He could have had something, if we were in a different situation, maybe I would have taken, I don't know. I'm just saying, I am not, weak-minded or in to try to get Lawrence Fishburne's pants or vice. And if he was, that should be a choice that I get to make. But I can see somebody taking somebody, especially if I say I have a headache, which she said, I have a headache. Here's something that's gonna make you feel better. It's Bill freaking Cosby. You're not thinking, oh, I will wake up with semen in my vagina. You don't think that, Antoine?
If you were with Lawrence Fishburne in his hotel room or his house, and he offered you pills, not a drink.
If I said I had a headache and he said, here's an herbal thing, Karen Hunter right now might take it because I'm enamored by Lawrence Fishburne. I'm just gonna say that out loud. And if I'm being honest, I might not question Lawrence Fishburne because he's Lawrence freaking Fishburne, and I couldn't imagine Lawrence Fishburne drugging me.
Okay. All right. Well, I made my point. That's all I want to say.
All right. Let's get some hope in here.
About Larry, it's like with the thing with Larry is that we have to be prepared with all of this extra hypervigilance and danger mapping before we go anywhere. Like, that's the preparation that he's saying. You should have known better. You should have been prepared. You shouldn't take pills. So that's what he wants to have all women walking through life, looking at everything like that.
Oh my gosh.
That's a really salient point. The amount of the burden of suspicion and caution and danger that you are putting on the onus of women. And here's again, I just want the brothers to hear this, that what it feels like is a lack of protection of Black women. When you don't, like you said, not yet has anyone set this up. Like, you know what, I hear your pain, and I have compassion for all the survivors that are triggered like this. Like, there are women out here who are traumatized and re-traumatized and re-traumatized generations. That we can't even enter the conversation with that. And no one says, you know what, if my sister, if my mother, if Bill Cosby would have drugged my sister, I would have whooped his ass. Nobody has said that. Like, if that was my sister, if that was me, because who, like, you know, so the thought that you can't take an aspirin without the thought of, oh, he might rape me. What are we saying, brother? Like, what are we saying about y'all? Like, that should be on our minds. Are you all teaching? Like, what is that?
And I'm gonna say it this way: men are predators of women, and all women should consider all men as predators of women and proceed in that way.
I don't want to be that. I don't want to do that, Tanya.
But that's what these men are basically presenting themselves up as, the way they're expecting us to behave.
No, I do not. No, I don't. And I think that no. If that's the case, then what we just need to tap
proposition. Out. But that's the proposition that what we're hearing, right? And so, of course, we're not going to accept that. We're going to try to, unwrap that. It would be lovely to see some of those brothers that don't believe that to be in this conversation.
And let's hopefully bring one in. Jeff, save us. Jeff in Ohio. Welcome to the Carrot Hunter Show.
I want to say thank you all for having this conversation. It's a very important one. And secondly, I don't even know if you should even have any more brothers on the rest of the day, because
that's all that's on the line, though. That's all the lines are full.
I know, but so if we're going to call, it's like I'm looking at a picture from New York Magazine about 2 or 3 years ago, that has about 20 women sitting in chairs.
That's right.
And there's one empty chair. And I still believe those women. I believe them then. I believe them now. I don't understand what it is about us as Black people that we feel like we have to throw Black women under the bus to defend the worst Black men in the world. I don't care how much money Bill Cosby gave HBCUs. I don't care how many times I laughed at his movies or at the Cosby Show or his comedy routines. I am not going to claim I never laughed. I'm not going to claim I never found him funny. I am going to say, though, a lot of us need to put that stuff aside, because what he did after the cameras were turned off, after he stepped off the stage, cannot be defended. You can't rationalize it. You can't apologize for it. You can't justify it. Bill Cosby should be in prison. He should die in prison, okay? Because that's where a serial, sick, sexual predator should be. If Bill Cosby was named Bill Jones or Bill Smith, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But because he's Black and he's got money, and because he was good old America's dad, we're going to apologize and act like, well, it's okay. It's all right. He gave a lot of money. He's an old man. He ain't going to hurt nobody. Every last one of those women living today has been scarred for life.
That's
money
right.
Money can't take care of this. Nothing will take care of it. The little bit they could take care of it was maybe a little sense that there was some justice in this world, and today it got snatched away from them. And I am, as a human being, as a Black man, I am embarrassed. I am disgusted. And by some of the things I've heard by some of the other brothers calling in before me, we got a lot of work to do.
And we're here for it. And I think I'm actually optimistic, Jeff. Thank you. You restored hope. And let me just say, Andrea Comstead filed a civil suit against him in 2005, and it resolved in a cash settlement. It was settled, and she had a confidentiality agreement, which she broke. She was given $3.38 million, and she risked all of that to come forward, because if you've ever been sexually assaulted, and I hope that most of you have not, I hope that people listening to my voice have not experienced rape, you have not been sexually assaulted, that you don't carry that around with you, because it never leaves you, right? never left her. And she, along with several other women, filed another suit against him. And this is the thing that led to this deposition, that led to his conviction. But this didn't stop. You know, she took a settlement and still could not let it go. 13 other women in that suit, 13 other women went to court on him. And that doesn't include the 75 other women that have accused him in that cover that you talk about. Sorry. Okay. You're
women
muted.
that are time barred, because in America, there's a statute of limitations on rape. In England, there is no statute of limitations on rape. So they have put people in jail 60, 80 years after the fact.
Wow.
Because it's murder of your spirit. Can't get it back. 866-801-8255. The thought that whatever happened to you while you were unconscious haunts you.
The clarity of what Jeff just said, and I know it's recorded, but I feel like I want to take that sound bite and like blast it through every barbershop. You know what I mean? Like there was clarity.
Michaela Angela Davis is sticking around. The great Tanya Pinkins. They're both great, by the way. Should we take more calls? I think it'll get better from here, maybe. I don't know. Woman called in. Catherine. Catherine in Atlanta. Welcome.
Yes. Hi. Thank you.
Hey.
Hey. First and foremost, I'm a big fan of your show. This is the first time I've ever called into a radio station. So yay.
Yay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
My opinion is that the MFer should have been locked up when the woman first reported it. But as you all spoke about it back then, it wasn't even a crime. What's a real crime is that there's a statute of limitations. I heard you guys just talk about that a few minutes ago. There should be none. And being a survivor or warrior, I guess, of the same thing, there never should have been a negotiation. There never should have been an option for him to be released. Whether or not he admitted it himself or whether the women, told them, if there was evidence that it happened, it should have been a done deal. So the real crime is that he was able to negotiate and that these charges were able to be thrown out, and now he gets to go home. He should have been convicted a long time ago. All right, I'm emotional. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, and Michaela talked to that, and I know Tanya's going to jump in too, but there is some carnage out here. There's some real carnage, and there are a lot of people defending something because they're guilty of it too. So for them, Cosby, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, people keep talking about the legal aspect of the 5 witnesses. The law is supposed to be so logical and reasonable, but why is it's not fair to Cosby to bring 5 witnesses against him, but when the people who've killed George Floyd, who can't defend himself, they can bring up everything George Floyd ever did in his life. Like the law is not a logical thing at all. It works the way it was designed to work, to keep a small group of elite people in power and control, and then to tell you that there's logic to that. But half of what you do in law school is learn logic fallacies and different kinds of logic fallacies and how to use them. And my professor used to say, if you can convince someone that 2 + 2 is 5, you have done your job.
Okay.
So I just want to acknowledge that Sister called and said that she was a warrior and that she was a survivor, and just hold space for her today. You said that in your opening. And so I just want to really say that I heard that, and we hear it, and we're hearing, we're holding what I'm sure there are thousands, millions of women. If you're a woman of color and you're 16 or over, most of you have had this experience of some sort. And that's the piece I want the community to hear, that Black women and girls are sexually assaulted at numbers higher than any other group. And so when we talk about, it's interconnected to the entire emotional and spiritual health of the community. And we have to have some courage to like get into that, and so all the women who are shook today, they are shook. And there has to be, and they feel like they've always felt unsafe. If you're in a Black body, in a Black woman's body, there's no place that feels safe. And particularly when you're triggered. Yes.
Thank you for that, Michaela. As a matter of fact, 1 in 4 Black girls have been sexually abused before the age of 18, and 1 in 5 Black women are survivors of rape. Those are the numbers that came out.
Those are the numbers.
And this economy was built on raping us. As Dr. Carr said on Narrative, that Thomas Jefferson wouldn't free his slaves, even though he was given the money to do so, because he calculated he made 4% profit off their wounds. And that was the babies that they were made in those rape factories in Virginia, which was the rape capital of America once the transatlantic slave trade was outlawed.
So Tanya, when you just, and there's an ease. There's a comfort in thinking about women being raped, and particularly about Black women being raped. It is not shocking. It's not shocking to those men that said she should have known what she was going there for. She's never going to get raped. Can we have that as a baseline? We are never going into anyone's hotel room, club, home, mansion, back corner to make out to be raped. That's never why anyone's going there. So if these, hear that. Even if you want it, you're not going to the back of a car to get raped. Rape should not be like something you should consider before you meet a cute guy or go see a big celebrity or a mentor or a teacher or an uncle or anybody. We're never going anywhere to be raped. The end.
Bill Perkins is calling from somewhere in the world. He's a frequent guest here on the show. He wanted to jump in. He has got some perspective on it as well. Bill, welcome to the Karen Hunter Show.
I'm hearing what the ladies are saying, and I can't agree any more. I 100% agree with almost everything that's been said. I just want to point out, I came in a little late, that, the law is applied not equally, right? And in this particular case, despite the shadiness or heinous acts that have happened, right, the prosecutors went beyond what they were doing. They got Bill Cosby, they cut a deal to testify in the case, and then they used it against them, right? And we see in this scenario, we have these rules to protect people from being bludgeoned by the state. And the people that are generally bludgeoned by the state are people of color.
Absolutely.
Now this is
I started off talking about the legal piece, but today's Wellness Wednesday. And you hold on, because we have to go to a break and they're going to cut us off, because at 56:40 exactly, we go to commercial, whether I like it or not. So we're going to do that. But this is not a legal conversation that we're having today. This is hopefully a healing conversation. We're going to be talking about healing all throughout the day as Wellness Wednesday. We got Dr. Patton coming in the next hour, and Dr. Robin Smith in the hour after that. And we have 2 warriors here who are going to be constantly having this conversation, because whether there was a legal technicality and there was prosecutorial misconduct, which I believe there was, Bill Cosby is a rapist.